What's up, people? YouTube, this is Roller here, bringing you guys another video to my channel, and today we're going to be covering the specialists within Black Ops 4, at least the ones that we know of right now. We know of approximately 10. I think that when the game was first being teased and revealed in like the alpha, I think there was more specialists that they kind of insinuated, but we know that there's at least going to be 10 specialists in the game, so that's something that we're going to cover in this video. And I'm actually going to break down all of the specialists from my least favorite all the way to my favorite. So how are they most useful, what's their strengths and things like that, and just basically I'm just going to do a top 10 of all of the specialists in the Black Ops 4 beta, and potentially the ones that are just, you know, going to be in the game, assuming that we only have the 10. So this is going to be a quick little video. I would like to ask you guys to go ahead and subscribe to the channel for more content like this, especially if you're excited for Black Ops 4. Also leave a like on the video, that would be greatly appreciated. So let's go ahead and get into this. At number 10, I have Torque. So Torque was the dude who had the barbed wire that you lay out, and he was pretty cool. But I mean, he has the barbed wire that you lay out, and he has the big giant like wall thing that you can hide behind, like the little barrier that you can put up, which was it was a cool idea, and maybe it's because I played a lot of TDM. I didn't find this that useful. The good thing about the barbed wire was it felt like you could throw that in a doorway or something like that, and people were going to run into it and get stuck, and you were going to get a lot of XP and damage dealt from that, which was nice. But at the same time, on the opposite end of that, I feel like Torque's barbed wire has too much health. It takes like 2 clips of pretty much any given weapon, with the exception of maybe like an LMG or something, to destroy the barbed wire, which is absolutely insane in my opinion. So I think that's something that probably needs to be nerfed a little bit. But I think he has his uses. I think he's going to be more useful for objective game modes like Hardpoint and Capture the Flag, and like Domination, of course, and maybe even Search and Destroy, being able to block off routes and plant the bomb, stuff like that. I think things like that is where he'll come in handy, but for my playstyle and what I like to do, Torque just doesn't fit that mold, so that's why he's at number 10. Next one here is Ajax. So Ajax he's one that I think has the potential to be really good. When I first saw him in the teaser trailer, I was a little bit concerned about his shield that he's able to put up, his riot shield, and then stick out a gun and spray people. But it's not like he can rush you with the shield and melee you with it. He might be able to melee you with it, honestly. I don't know. I didn't see him try to do that. I never tried it. But it doesn't look like the shield's going to be that annoying because you move pretty slow. It's just one of those things that if you just avoid him, it's whatever. So he's at number 9, and the only reason he's not my number 10, honestly, is just because he has the gun that he can use to shoot out of the shield. If he didn't have that, he would absolutely be my number 10 because he would really hardly ever be useful. I think that there's room for him to be improved. I think that his 9-bang, although some people might disagree with me here, I didn't find it to be that useful. I think that it can be buffed a little bit in some manner, but by and large, I just think that he's not really needed very often. Once again, he might be more useful for objective game modes, pulling off that shield going into a hard point, capturing a flag, something along those lines. So because of that, that's why he sits at my number 9. The next one here at number 8 is going to be a little bit controversial. I think a lot of people are going to disagree with me on this one, but it is Ruin. And I know that Ruin is a popular specialist across pretty much everybody. Most people would probably put him in their top 3 or top 5 at least. But for me, Ruin is something that's just not very practical. I do like the Grav Slam or the gravity spikes. I like them basically the same reason anybody else does. I mean, it's real quick and you kill a lot of people. But the way that I like to play, I don't find myself in situations very often where that gravity spike or that grav slam is that necessary. And I think the grappling hook is cool to kind of get across the map, but at the same time, I feel like the grapple hook can put you in some bad situations, which is kind of the balance of it. So I don't find that Ruin is that useful. He's at number 8 for me because the grav slam can be really fun and it can be really cool when it works out, and it gives you that really good feeling of picking up multiple kills. But by and large, it just kind of feels like a wasted spot where I could be using something else more frequently and it would be more useful. Next one here at number 7 is Crash, and I'm going to be honest, from 7 down, these get really iffy for me and really hard to kind of organize. But I have Crash at number 7 because I think that he was really fun to use and he was really useful, but it felt like he didn't really do much for you. He helped your team, which was important. but you didn't get much benefit off of him. He's at number 7 because I feel like the usefulness of that 200 health was really nice, and you do rack up a lot of XP with him, so he's useful in that manner, and you can get that more than once in a TDM. I think you can get like 2 or 3 times depending on how good you play and stuff. But this is one that's really useful, and I don't think it needs to be, honestly, I don't think it needs to be buffed. I don't think it needs to be nerfed. I think it's perfect where it's at. I think it has a good spot, like a good point, and it does a lot for the team. So if you buff this, there's going to be issues. If you nerf this, it's not going to be really much of a point in using him. So I think Crash is at a really good spot. I think he's useful enough for me to want to use sometimes, or depending on the game mode, maybe Search and Destroy would be a good place to use him for the extra health. I don't know, but I think that moving forward, he's somebody that I'm probably going to use more frequently. Next one here is Seraph. Now, the only reason Seraph is at number 6 and wasn't like farther in on the list, because Seraph is pretty destructive, is because I feel like in Black Ops 4 the movement is so crazy, and I get that in Black Ops 3 the movement was more insane, but there's so many head glitches and places to slide behind real quick and jump real high, which I'm fine with, by the way. But I feel like the Annihilator wasn't really that useful. There was a few times where I could just pick up some insane nasty pieces with the Annihilator, and it was fun for that reason. But at the same time, I feel like this is another one of those where it's in a nice spot, but I think I can replace her with another specialist that's going to do more good for me ultimately while I'm playing. And then obviously the spawn beacon is super useful for like Search and Destroy. That's been covered. You know, it allow you and only you playing as Seraph to spawn back in if you manage to get it by like the 4th, 5th round, give or take, or even the 6th round. So it has its purpose. It is useful, and I'm happy that she is in the game. I don't know how I feel about the spawn beacon. That honestly might need to just be replaced with something else. I don't know if they can do it, but it might be a problem. So that's where she's kind of sitting in the middle of everybody else. Next one here is at number 5, and that is Nomad. Obviously, he has the little tripwire explosives and the dog that runs around. I didn't actually get the dog very much, surprisingly. But when I did get the dog, it was like a 50-50 chance. Either he was not doing anything and getting killed, or he was just absolutely destroying everyone, and I was still also able to run around with my gun up. So Nomad is useful from that context, and I think that he fits well in the game because I think he's one of the better specialists in the game right now, especially with the tripwire explosives. It's not a real passive specialist, so I'm excited to use him more. I didn't use him that much in the beta. They're going to fix the way that the dog works, I'm sure, because right now he just gets stuck in the environment. He runs into walls, things like that, which is super annoying. At number 4, we have Prophet, and at first, I didn't know how I felt about Prophet. I thought that he was really bad, and if I hadn't have used him more often in the beta than I did initially, then he easily probably would have been in like my first 3 or 4. Like, I didn't really see a point to use him. But then once I started using him more, and then that little electric scooter thing that runs around and shocks the shit out of people, it's really nice to use that and to try and follow that. Like, you're sitting mid-map on gridlock, for example, you know there's people on the other side of that bus, you throw that thing down, it runs around and it shocks somebody, you can instantly turn that corner, and odds are you're not only going to be able to kill the people around that person because they're not going to be expecting you turning the corner, then you have a whole nother person frozen that can't really do much, so it gives you time to kill them and then you can get that last easy kill, or vice versa. So very useful. Prophet is. I think that the new sniper rifle Tempest thing is much better than it was in Black Ops 3, because I really didn't like using Prophet that much in Black Ops 3. It was nice being able to use the time travel jump back thing, but that was pretty much it. So I think Prophet is better now than he was in Black Ops 3, if I'm being completely honest. Next one here is Firebreak. So Firebreak for me was another one of those specialists that I used a couple of times, and I was like, man, just not useful. I thought that the Annihilator, or the Purifier, needed to be buffed. I didn't think it did enough damage. I felt like you had to really hold down that trigger to get kills with it. And I don't know if they changed something from Beta Weekend 1 to Beta Weekend 2, but I used the Purifier on the Hacienda map, and I got a 10-piece with it. It was absolutely insane, and I used him more from that point on, and I think that Firebreak is perfectly balanced now that I got the chance to use him and actually play with him. And I think he's obviously the specialists that I like to use. Either one are going to feed me kills, or two, they're just going to give me kills. So things that are just really going to rack up the kills, make them easier to get, because that's how I like playing Call of Duty, is getting a lot of kills. And Firebreak definitely does that. His little like nuclear core thing that heats up, that thing's kind of weird, but it's super nice when you're right outside of a room where there's a bunch of people, or you're right by an objective. I feel like it has a really good spot in the game. So I am happy with Firebreak. I think he is, I don't think he's overpowered, I don't think he's underbalanced, I think he's in a good spot. Next one here at number 2 is Battery. Now, I like Battery because you can just destroy people with the War Machine. I like Battery a lot in Black Ops 3. I don't know how I feel about the little grenade thing that she throws, because I think it needs a slight buff. I really do. But the power of the War Machine just makes up for that. And in Black Ops 4, you see a lot of teams grouped together trying to take rooms or take objectives. The first map I think of is Hacienda. That's that balcony on one spawn or the other. Either way, you're gonna have people lined up over there coming into those rooms most of the time. And so if you have this out and you're, say you're in the middle of the courtyard, you can just launch them up there, or you're really close to one side on the balcony, you can just launch them around the corner. That is really useful, and it's such a satisfying feeling getting a bunch of kills using Battery that I wouldn't have it any other way. I really like how Battery is, aside from the fact that I think her little grenade thing that splits up into multiple grenades, I think that needs a slight buff in like radius and damage. Don't go too crazy with it, but it does need a slight buff. Now, my number 1, if you guys have been following along and paying attention, this one is gonna come as a surprise. And it was pretty hard for me to do this, because I was wondering, I was like, do I really feel this way about the specialist? But my number 1 is definitely Recon. Recon is the reason why I like him so much, is he just paints everybody on the map, and he gives you so much intel on where they're at. He feeds kills to you and your teammates, and you get a bunch of XP from it. And the little sensor dart is so nice when you're shooting it into highly populated areas. So definitely Recon is one of my favorite. I recommend you guys use him. I understand that a lot of people probably were like, that seems kind of boring, right? But I'm telling you, he gives you so much information on the map and the other players around, that he's insanely useful. So I would highly recommend you guys using him when the game comes out. I know that I'm going to be using a lot of these specialists off and on, just trying to learn the best playstyle with them. And then of course there's going to be some sort of leveling up system and trying to rank up these specialists to their highest potential. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please go ahead and leave a like on it. I really would appreciate that. And also subscribe to the channel for more content, and deuces.